Hello, welcome to Techdive. We're going to be doing another Vegas Movie Studio 14 Platinum tutorial, and we're going to be talking about transitions. A lot of people, when they're doing transitions, jump right to the transitions tab, but we're going to talk about some of the basics beforehand and leading up to the transitions tab and how they work. So when you're doing a transition, the most important thing to remember is cut on the action. A cut is a transition. This is a project I did for Techdive. It's our channel trailer, and it's just got some random clips from a lot of our different videos. And you can see here, if I zoom in, this is just a straight cut, audio and everything. I'm going to quiet Steven's voice down a little bit because I can tell it's going to be a little louder, but it should cut right on the action. So might have to play it twice because it might not pre-render. I'm on my laptop, so it's not quite as strong of an editing machine. But let's watch it. Alright, it wasn't too clean of a cut, but now it should be kind of rendered a little bit. Alright, and you can see there from the cut, what happens is I have my arms moving, and then his camera is spinning. The object's fixed in the center, but this frame is moving. And what I try and do, and what you should try and do, is what's called cut on the action. Very accepted practice in the industry. That's not always the case, right? So this one's just him talking and me talking, so sometimes it works, but the best transitions will be cutting on the action. So see, in this one, immediately at the beginning of the cut, his arm flies up in the air to demonstrate how the green screen is poor in the shot. And so this is just a standard cut, and if you do your cuts in the right spot, your audio and everything will look good. You notice this one, this has a chunk of video missing from the audio, and if I scroll it back, it comes back, but I can adjust it here. How did I get that started? Well, the reason why you would have to do that is sometimes, for example, this shot right here, I wanted him to keep talking and saying what he was saying in this shot while this one started. So that way the transition was less abrupt. Your head was following his voice even into the new screen. So that is another type of trick for a transition, which it's just really a basic cut transition, but you cut the audio at a slightly different time. That way it's not such a hard transition. So let's watch it. So a little lagging again from me being on a lesser editing laptop, but you can still see the concept that his sentence finishes as this screen goes on, and then you start seeing his audio appearing. So you can roll over here. The way that happened is you can select, that's the auto ripple. You can select ignore event groupings, and this is in Movie Studio. It's going to be a little different in Pro, and when I do my Pro tutorial I'll show you. Then when you hit that button, you can slide this around separately from the audio, and now it'll snap to the corners too, which means you can also slide away without your audio following, so the clips aren't locked together. And then when you're ready for them to lock back, hit this button and again, and then they'll come back together. So those two very important transition types, and probably the most common transition you're going to use. The next is just a fade transition, and Vegas auto generates these when you push your transition together. And you can change the type of fade and transition these have by right clicking the fade, going to fade type, and then selecting one. And so you notice that this is an even fade. These are different curves where the different amounts of the images you'll see during the fade. For instance, if we select this one, is pretty obvious. This one right here, you'll notice that there's a quicker fade out and a longer, there's like a stall in the center. So that way you'll see everything bleed at the right ratios, because different colors and things bleed differently, and when you're joining different shots, sometimes you might want that face to kind of linger in the shot for a minute, depending on what you're doing, or sometimes you might want that shot to kind of blend together, especially if the shots are shot on two different sides of the screen. You kind of want them to blend during the transition. That's something to think about, is the content on the screen while you're doing the transition. And so if we watch it, and so that was the bleed. It did it pretty well. You can see it again here if I scroll through. It's not that the transition looks bad, it actually looks kind of good, but this would be a bad transition if I had left it like this because of the audio. So if I wanted to fix that, I could push the audio down here, and I could actually decide who's going to be talking during this fade by doing the same trick I did earlier by grabbing and removing audio wherever I decided the audio should cut. And you can also like custom cut during the fade, change who says what in the middle by grabbing the two different pieces. So I'm going to undo this button so it's not still selected, and then I'm going to Control Z until I get everything back. And now I have this transition, and I'm going to ignore the fade type and go right to a transition. This transition is, notice there's two types of transitions. These up here require 3D rendering, and you'll notice that as you hover your mouse over them, you can see the type of transition they're going to do. So let's go ahead and look at this blinds left to right. When I drop it on, all I have to do is drop it on this fade type here, and then it auto takes the fade type and just inserts the transition, and then it gives you a way to build the effect. And if you want to get back to the screen, if you're ever rebuilding the effect, all you have to do is select this little X here. The X is a symbol for the transition, and it'll come up to the builder. And you can decide all sorts of things independent to each plugin. Each effect that you're looking at dropping on has different ways you can adjust them. We'll be here all night if I go through each effect and how to adjust each of them, but it's usually pretty self-explanatory. For instance, like this would be the amount of light kind of shining through as it goes. This is the amount of blind divisions you have, whether you have a whole lot or just a little bit. And extra spins if you want them to kind of really crazy spin around. And so this is going to take more graphical power to render, and probably the first time I watch it, it's going to glitch a little bit. I'm going to mute the audio because the audio doesn't matter anymore. So let's watch it one more time. See, it does several spins in the transition. It makes it kind of dizzying. I wouldn't certainly choose that one, but you get the concept. If you ever need to see a transition and see exactly when it does it, there's a video about pre-rendering, but remember that pre-rendering is an option when you selectively pre-render a video. That's a way, if you have a lower power computer, for example my laptop, that you're editing on that's doing a great job but it has some trouble with things like the transitions, give that a shot when you're making sure that the transition ends the exact way you want it to end in the exact place you want it to end. So one of the next things to consider is these other types of effects. There's so many. There's spirals and spiral ends and screen shaking ones, and especially if you have some of the extra content that comes with different versions, and there's other plugins and things you can usually find for it too. But these, oh man, it just comes right out of the box with so many, and I've never even used them all in an actual project. But there's, depending on what you're going for, one thing to think about, and last note before you leave, is as you're doing these types of effects and you're dropping these effects in and you're editing with them, think about the content of the shot and the shot it's going into. For example, if somebody is running from the right to the left, you may want a transition like a barn door one where it opens up behind them, and so they'll run with the screen or run off the screen a little faster. Or you might want, if you are doing something like you're trying to show a large passes of time, a clockwise effect is kind of a good one that kind of gives you your brain that unconscious thought of time passing or even going back in time. So it's not, it wouldn't use it as a full storytelling device in your script, but it's a way to kind of just, if you're trying to show someone going back in time, you could do that kind of a transition and it would work. So let's say you want this transition to happen faster. Well, just grab your fade, and you can grab a fade by grabbing the top of the clip with the fade grabber here. You can also grab fades by changing your editing tool, but the easiest way to do it is just to grab the corner. You can adjust your fade, and you can do that with audio as well. And when you make these transitions, and remember fade type also affects the audio, you can, if you make it really small, this transition will do everything you told it to do but ultra quickly, and it's not even gonna like rendering that out. We can try it. Yeah, see that on this laptop, that's, you're asking it to do a whole lot really quickly. But if you want it to take a while, all you have to do is grab it at the top again, or grab it around the transition. It depends on how it's stacking up, but it just turns, your cursor turns from the slide edit tool to the fade edit tool, which is that sloped arrow with the two arrows on the side. It's got the two arrows and the sloped You just pull it longer, and then you have a longer transition here. And I'm pulling in more video as well to transition behind it. And that is transitions in a nutshell. Hope this video helped you out. I have lots of Vegas tutorials that I've been doing, and pro tutorials as well, so movie studios and pro. I'm trying to come out with one every week. Please like if this video helped you out, subscribe if you're looking for more, and so many people are leaving me comments on tutorials they want to do. This one was actually suggested by a commenter. I'm getting to them as fast as I can. I love trying to help you guys out, so whatever you're looking for, leave it in the comments below, and I'm going to take some notes and plan the video and try and get it out as soon as possible. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate your help, and if you're looking at learning anything about computer parts or computer enthusiast software or any other kind of video fun, our channel's got a lot of that. Anything computer enthusiast related is what we're about. Thanks for watching.